Welcome to Veterans Archives, where we are dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes. We hope you enjoy this story. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share our videos. Check us out across all social media. Be sure to like and share those pages as well. And for more information, go to www.veteransarchives.org. Today is Friday, June 27th. We're here with Jose Alvarado, who served in the United States Army. So good morning, Jose.
Good morning there.
Thanks for being here this morning.
My honor again.
All right. So we'll start out simple. When and where were you born?
Was born in May 5th, 1957 in South America, Ecuador.
Okay. Now, did you grow up in Ecuador?
I grew up until I was 12 and a half years old.
Okay.
My mother did move in 1968, 69 here to New York City, there to New York City. And a couple of years later, she got us back to New York City.
Okay. Now, what was it like being a kid in South America?
I loved it at that time, remembering that I was able to play soccer at one point in the middle of the day. But nowadays you can't because it's too hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can remember from playing in them days.
Okay. Do you have brothers and sisters?
One brother and two sisters.
Okay. All born in Ecuador then?
Yes.
Okay. And so what prompted your mom to move to New York City?
She became a lady. She used to deliver babies, and she was good at what she did. And I guess she wanted to come to the United States because it was a better place to make something out of ourselves, I guess. I didn't know nothing about it besides, follow what she did. And once she did that, we all came to this country, and it was beautiful. I remember the first time that we seen the bathtub.
Really?
The bathtub. We thought it was a swimming pool. So it was a beautiful thing when we came to this country.
Yeah.
And it was September of 1970, I think it was.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
Okay. And then I'm just going to ask, because we didn't really talk about this ahead of time. What about your father?
My dad, he wasn't around, but I did met him in these years later on. I'm gonna say 2013.
Oh,
He passed away about 4 years ago.
okay.
He was 91 years old.
Okay. So you did sort of reconnect with him then later
Yes,
on.
sir. I just wanted to make sure that my conscience was clear, knowing that I did met the man that brought me into his life.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about growing up in New York City. So I'm assuming you lived there right up through the time you joined the service.
Yes, sir. From Brooklyn, went to school, couple of schools, did okay, learned the language. We moved back up to the Bronx, joined gangs after that. I was not a good kid. And of course, just I was a follower at that point. And I got in trouble with this gang and finally decided that it wasn't good for me. My grandpa got in my case because my grandpa was an ex-military back in my country.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me a letter stating that I wasn't good and that was not right, blah, blah, blah. I still have that letter, as a matter of fact. It makes me choke up. Eh,
He cared enough to say something to you.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
But he changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I decided to change. And again, I said that, like I said, I went to the station and this gentleman that says, take the test, passed the test, flying colors, I guess. Guy says, just be in Ludlow Street and Broadway at 4:30 in the morning. The bus will pick you up. I remember going into the bus, not knowing what was on the other side of the wall.
Now, you fibbed about your age, right? When you first talked to him?
Yes, I said I was 18, and in reality, I was only 17 and a half, I think it was.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. But I cannot go back to that, how old I was, be honest with you. But I think I was less than 18, if I remember correctly.
Okay. But you take the test, you pass with flying colors,
yeah,
and
passed it with no issues, and that was it.
Yeah. So you hop on a bus at 4:30 in the morning?
4:30 in the morning, the bus was so quiet. I remember that. It's like, you say hi to each other and in the seats, and it's like, once you get out, once you get to the base, the first thing you see a couple of drill sergeants outside, and you think like it's gonna be all cool. And the first thing, get the f out of my bus.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the beginning of oh my god, what did I got myself into? But I was glad that I did it because my mom didn't want me to go in because she says, "Well, why are you doing this? What about if the Vietnam War keeps going? If blah blah blah." And I says, "Mom, it doesn't matter. Either I get killed here or I get killed there. So I'd rather learn something better than learning something stupid here in New York City."
Right. Well, and when you're in the gangs, I mean, really, there's only two. You're either going to end up in prison or end up dead, right?
One of the two.
Yeah. I
One
think
of the two.
everyone I know that was involved in some criminal activity, there was only two ways to go.
Full of ways. Yep. And
Yeah.
my only way was that one.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad.
Yeah. Here you are today
Yes,
talking
sir.
with me.
Yep.
So you went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. Is that where you took your basic?
Fort Dix, New Jersey, basic training, and then Fort Benning, Georgia, for the AIT,
Uh-huh.
advanced training.
So you were infantry.
Yes,
Okay.
I was infantry. Once I did that, 1978, re-enlisted for another 4 years,
Uh-huh.
and that's when they sent me to Panama, which, boy, I loved it.
Yeah. It's
And,
almost home, right? It
as a
was
matter
close.
of fact, yes, it is because it's jungle. I was
Right.
born in the jungle, and to me, the jungles was like the backyards of my house. My cousins, we used to play. As a matter of fact, I tell my grandkids now, in them days, our weapons, because that's what my grand says, because I don't call it gun, I call it weapon.
Right.
I says, my weapon was a stick, they laugh like crazy because I take the stick and I start going, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," and they laugh like crazy. I said, but that was my weapon. Now you guys have all the beautiful make believe weapons. I said, not like we didn't have none of that.
Right. You had imagination.
We had a great imagination. We didn't have iPads. We didn't have none of that stuff.
Right.
The world was outside, playing all the time, climbing trees, jumping to the lakes or the rivers, blah blah blah. But we have fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Make your own fun, right?
that's right.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you came in, went to basic training, went to AIT. So you were kind of was that the downside of Vietnam then? So
Vietnam, I ended in '75.
yeah.
I can't remember exactly when, but to me, it wasn't facing me anything like. I mean, I wasn't facing nothing that scared me.
Right.
To me, what scared me more was getting hurt somewhere back in New York City, which it was a worse jungle, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The 70s were tough in New York.
It was. It was.
I
It
don't
was.
think people remember that.
Yeah.
You couldn't go down to Times Square.
Yep.
It was not the tourist trap that it is
No,
today.
no. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. So you end up going to Panama then. You end up not going to Vietnam, but going to Panama.
I stayed in Panama yet and became more of a how would you call that, an aggressor.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was. So all we did was just make sure that these guys learn how to survive that jungle. But
Right.
and I never got lost in the jungle. That's the greatest thing ever.
I can't tell you how many times I've been lost.
Yeah. It's just like teaching like my grandkids. One thing that I thought the other day, my little grandkid comes over. He takes a magnifying glass, out of the drawer. He's playing with it. It is very hot outside, so he goes outside with it. And he's playing with, looking at it like this. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm playing." I says, "Papa, you can't play with that. That's very dangerous for your eyes. Number one, you're looking at the sun. Number two, you can start a fire." I said, "No, you can't. How you start a fire, Papa?" And I showed them. Took a piece of paper, took at the sun, and the fire started. And their face lit up like, "Wow, wow." I said, "That's how come you don't play with that, because it's kind of dangerous." I said, "You can start a fire, and that's no good."
Yeah.
And they're they learn in a heartbeat. I mean, one time, and they know it all already.
Yeah, they're like little sponges, right? They just soak up all that
I'm telling you.
information.
And that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know where the hell I'd be with my mind, with my crazy mind. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm going through a lot of pain and don't know what it is. They can't figure me out, and I
So-
gotta live with it.
Yeah. So I think that's related to your time in Panama.
It is because, well, like, again, we talked about this stuff. the guys, and it's like, why are we going through what we're going through? Doesn't make no sense. All these years since I got out. The day that I got out, it was more because it was the last jump uh, repelling of a helicopter right into the jungle, and got hurt pretty bad on the side. Came back out. uh, I waited about 6 years. Of course, I stayed on the reserve for 6 years to make sure that I can go back because I wanted to make it a career.
Right.
And my grandpa did it, and I'm like, I wanted the same thing. My grandpa was my dad in reality. He was there for me all that time.
Yeah.
But the day that that happened, I remember I couldn't go back into the jungle. It killed me.
Yeah.
It just and didn't know what was going on, and all these other things with sinuses issues and things coming out of your body, popping out, and we didn't understand what it was. And come to find out, even pictures from where in the barracks where we used to live, my wife, my ex-wife, and my first kid.
Yeah. Pictures. So how long were you in Panama then?
So 1978, so almost 4.5 years.
Okay. And this is where you met your first wife.
No, here in Kansas City.
Oh, in Kansas City.
That's my first son that was born there.
That's really cool. Oh my gosh.
That goes back to when I got out,
You look so young.
right?
Wow.
New York City.
That's
And
great.
Can't forget where we come from, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah. So walk me through this. I want to make sure I've got the timing correct. So you go to AIT down at Benning,
Mm-hmm.
and then where did you go from Benning? Did you go right to Panama, or did you go to?
Panama.
Okay.
Yep.
And so how did you meet your first wife?
In Fort Riley, Kansas.
Uh-huh. So this is after you got back from Panama?
No. That's before we went to Panama.
Okay.
Uh, uh, go to a bar, blah blah blah. They got dancing, all that stuff. I was a good dancer.
Yeah. Probably still are.
Yeah. And of course, there's this chick, and blah blah blah. She wants to dance with. That's how we met. And didn't know that she was only 17, and I was already 18 and a half, I think 19.
Uh-huh.
So she was very younger than me and didn't know that. And their parents signed to marry her.
Okay.
And then she went down to Panama with us.
Okay. All right. I understand now. So yeah. So how long were you dating before you got married?
I'm going to say about 6 months. That was stupid. That, you know how
Well, when you're young, you do things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember in that bar, we were so like invisibles, taking shots of 151 rum,
Yeah.
Bacardi.
I used to go to parties where they would put some in the ashtray and then set it on fire, and it would
Yep.
like burn all night.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see, drink that up.
Yeah.
It was fun, but who knows what the heck is happening now? So
Right. So you actually, it's an accompanied tour down to Panama then. So your wife goes with you, and you have your first son. He's born
right there in Panama.
Wow.
Yeah, Fort Davis, Panama.
Yeah. And then so how old was he when you left Panama?
He was 2 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so you were really down there kind of training people? Is that sort of what your job was?
Yeah.
Okay.
An
Yeah.
aggressor.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was, an aggressor.
Okay.
And just making sure that these guys didn't go the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
The map, like again, the things that you learn and you still don't stop learning,
Right.
as old as you get. And I'm still learning. I mean, up to now.
Yeah, if you stop learning, there's a problem because then you think you know everything, right?
Well, there's times now that even my brain is not working correctly. I says, people look at me, and they like we get together, we look at each other, take our hats off. First thing that says, "Why are you painting your hair?" And I'm like, "I don't do that. This is my original hair."
They don't want to believe that because their hair doesn't look that
Right?
nice.
They're all
does it?
white hair.
Happens to some of us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that comes up every time we got together. And it's like, no, I don't paint my hair. I hate chemicals. I try to eat right.
Yeah.
Try to stay away from sugar now, especially with all this stuff. Get my own vitamins because I'm just looking out for myself nowadays. doctor. You can't you can't depend on the doctors nowadays.
Oh,
You got to look after yourself.
you get one body. You got to take care of it,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Right.
So you leave Panama with your wife and your son.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go from
Back
there?
to New York.
Oh, back to New York.
Back
Okay.
to New York.
And you're still in the army at this time?
I was on the reserves.
Okay.
I signed up after that. After I got out, I went to North Carolina, and I signed up for another 6 years to be in the reserve just in case because I want to recoup.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. I tried so hard, it didn't happen. Something was not right, and my back just in all these years, I never used the government, the VA,
Mm-hmm.
because at that time I was thinking, there's a lot of veterans that came out from Vietnam that need that more than me, and I never used it. Uh, Even though the guy's telling me that's kind of stupid not to do that because you earned that,
Right.
and I'm like, hmm, never thought of it. And it's kind of funny because I never said that I served the country, even when I was working at the township back in '98. Never talked about it. I never did want to talk about it until about 7 years ago. Something stupid happened, and I says to myself, I says, before I do something stupid that I'm gonna regret, I'd rather wear the hat,
Yeah.
stating that that's where I've been,
I
and
like that
I
hat.
don't I don't I don't think I want to do stupidity or hurt somebody.
Right.
That was the main thing, and ever since then, it's like I have worn the hat very proudly,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't want to do because again, excuse me, Bill.
Oh, you're fine. I'm gonna go get some tissue paper. I'll be right back.
Anyway, especially when all these great brothers went there and did what they had to do to come back out and be called child killers, people didn't have no idea what they all went through. Not at all. Not one bit, I think. And it kind of hurt.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I never want to say because first thing that they wanted to do is they look at you, especially if you wore a hat. They look at you like oh, baby killer or something like that kind of stuff. And it was disgusting. And that's how come I never said anything
Mm-hmm.
until about 7 years ago. As a matter of fact, it was 2019 when my commander in chief, which was Mr. Trump, and all this hate came around. I went for pain management, and after that, I came back with my whole right side was completely worse than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make no sense, but up to today, I'm still thinking that this country and the racism is so sad because we all just have the same values. No
Right.
matter what kind of person, animal you are, especially animals. If we don't take care of them, who's going to take care of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with us. But my mind goes in so many places nowadays that I can't think straight anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and all because in trying to cover all the hurt.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's just like uh, all these years. I says to myself, I want to give my kids the stuff that I never had, which I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a thing that parents really strive to do is to give their we all want our kids to have a better life than we had and I know your son, so I know that
Yeah, and I think the
he's
worst thing
there.
about this is what kills me is having my two oldest sons. One of them have to live next to the VA hospital Ann Arbor because he's got to get infusions every month, and that's the only thing that I regret about. That's one
Yeah.
thing that I regret about him looking up to me, knowing that I would try to be a great soldier, and he tried to do the same thing, but instead he rebelled. He changed. He 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 was telling me how they brainwash you in there, and I says to him, son, they're not trying to brainwash you. They're just trying to teach you the worst thing scenario, because that's
Right.
what I will do for you. I says, I don't want you to get hurt, just like they will not want you to get hurt. They're just training you,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But and I think finally he understood that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's back up a little bit. To you end up back in New York City. You're in the reserves for 6 years. What are you doing for a living while you're in New York?
Thank God for my stepdad. My stepdad, he was they call it a superintendent of
Uh-huh.
this big building, which they have rock. Can't remember the name of the players, but they have big people that lived in this building. So we had to go and buff the floors, blah blah blah, mop the floors. That's
Yeah.
how I started. I went back and I had a job like that and kept me busy.
Uh-huh.
My mind wasn't all right though. It,
Right.
uh, it was really bad, and divorced my wife, and my wife took off and went to Canada. My ex-wife,
Right.
and as a matter of fact, she just left with my kids.
So you had
Two
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 boys
kids
at
from
this
my
time.
first wife. Two,
Okay.
yeah,
So she took off to Canada.
took off to Canada
Eh,
because I was going bananas.
Right.
I, and I
Right.
can't blame her. Uh, uh, I tried to straighten myself up, and all it was the whole time was just the pain that I was going through, and I'm still going through it. It's just that a certain time you start, as a man, you start thinking, hey, put it away.
Right.
Think about keeping yourself up there.
Right. Yeah. Push it down. Don't talk about it. All the things you're not supposed to do because it hurts you.
It hurts more.
Yeah. Mentally.
Yep.
It really does. So, how long did you stay in New York then?
So 1992,
Uh huh.
May. As a matter of fact, before May of 1992, we came here. My younger sister moved here with her husband, and he found a job here. That a gentleman from New York came here and opened up a business, Incographics, they used to call it,
Uh huh.
or they still call it. So he moved out here, and we came out here in May of the year before that. And this was my wife now.
Okay. So did you meet your current wife in New York then?
Well, I knew her.
Oh, okay.
I knew her because she used to live in the same building where I used to live.
Oh.
So I kind of knew her. We met each other. As a matter of fact, I met her again in the blackout of 1977, I think it is.
Okay. Yeah. When all
Uh,
the
the New York blackout.
yeah.
That's where I met her, and I went back into the military, and she got married, and I got married, and then when I came back out, we met again after my wife left, and yeah, and that's the story about that. And
Yeah.
had my first kid, and the second kid, and moved out here, and this was beautiful out here compared to New York City. Uh, it was too fast. It was too fast. Uh, I was that type of person that I hated to see bad things happening compared to what I used to do at one point.
Right.
And I used to look at that and I'm like, no, I can't believe that was myself at one point. And I was the type of person that I changed.
Hmm.
I didn't want to see that. I had kids right next to me that I didn't want them to see that. Right.
Right.
And even the corners of Broadway, McLean Avenue, there'd be drug dealers in the corners, and I'd be that guy that pushes them away.
Right.
And it came to a point that people are telling me, "You're gonna get killed." Well, I didn't care. That's how bad it was. I
Yeah.
did not care. I was a loose gun.
Hmm.
Let's put it that way. And but the day that I came over here, everything changed. Came back over here, went back to New York, Champion Cadillac. I was working for this dealer,
Uh huh.
Cadillac dealer, which in reality the government sent me to school for about a year and a half before that, and then from the school went to right to a Cadillac dealer.
Okay.
Worked there for about 9 years, and then 1991 came here. 1992 we moved here, and then 2 years later I bought my first house.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what did you do? What did you do for work here in Michigan then?
a mechanic.
Okay.
So became a mechanic, and oh my God, well, going back a little bit. So I had a little Toyota when I got out, and I was going through all kinds of stuff. My wife left, blah blah blah, and I had this little Toyota. I can't remember what year it was, but I used to go from Yonkers all the way to Terrytown, which is about 15 miles every day, right?
Mhm.
In the snow. This little car will take me from here to there without issues. The car broke down right in the parking lot of where I lived, 218 McLean Avenue. I can never forget that. On the dirt. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to check my oils and this because I had to drive my own Jeep back in the when I was in reconnaissance.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go across the street, pick a book up, and read on it, and look to see what was wrong with the car. It wouldn't go nowhere because it was a clutch. Okay. Anyway, open up the book, put it on jack stand, put some blocks underneath there, take the transmission out, take the part right across the street to the part store, and the guy says, "Yeah, it'll be a couple days before I can get you that part." I put it back together, and I felt so freaking good after I put it back together. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was reading.
Right.
And then, of course, the government calls me up again because when I got out, they wanted to recruit me to be a DEA agent because of the lingo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, either there, Florida, or anywhere else in the country, I guess, or out of the country because of my lingo. But I couldn't do it because
Right.
of the hurt. Otherwise, I would have done it too, you know. But I'm glad I didn't. Because just looking back at this, a lot of my friends, how they have to look behind every time. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
So, but once I fixed that car, and they says, and I asked the government, is there any place that I can go and learn how to fix cars? And the lady says, of course. And it was 10 miles from Yonkers down to Manhattan
Uh-huh.
every day. In 1 month, I had 3 speeding tickets because I had to get down to school.
Right.
And after that, I got one of them old radar detectors. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
And I put it on, and it never got caught again after that. Up to today, I never had an accident, car accident. 2 people have hit me. One rear end me, and the other one T-boned me.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, that's part of my neck issue anyway. Oh my God.
So working with your hands and fixing that car really kind of
It put me in that on that path.
yeah.
And put me on that path. And again, once that lady called me up and she says, and they sent me to that Cadillac dealer. It's funny because the day 1991, when I told 1992 March or February or March, I think it was. I went to it was a union shop,
Mm-hmm.
so they couldn't give you raises
Right.
right away. So I went back and I says, "Hey, Mr. Chick, I gotta tell you, I'm leaving. I'm not quitting. I'm just gotta leave because I'm moving from this country, from the state." And they didn't want me to leave. Jose, why are you leaving? Why we can give you a raise. We give you a raise. I says, it's not about that. I says, I want to get out of this crazy town. I says, I don't want to be here. I says, I'm going to do something stupid. And I'm glad that I did. I moved out of there.
Yeah.
Came over here, and it was beautiful. There was no traffic. Uh, even when I got, of course, after I got out, and I forgot to tell you, I did drove a taxi cab in New York City.
Oh no.
So, and it was about 7 months, I think it is. And I says to myself, nah, I can't do this. Again, my mind was just crazy, especially when stupidity was in
Right.
front of me, right?
Right.
And I had to stay away from all that.
So you make it to Michigan then, and where did you go to work then?
I went to Sundance Chevrolet.
Oh goodness, I'm very familiar with them. I've done
Mr.
business.
Hank. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
Gary Hanks went to school with my mom actually.
Really?
Yeah, my
Oh,
mom knew
wow.
him in high school.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is unbelievable, ain't it?
It's a small
Small
world.
exactly.
It really is.
Um,
So you have 2 kids. How old are your children then at this point?
the oldest one or the ones now?
The ones that you brought with you to
Here
to
in the
Michigan.
States.
How old were they when you moved?
Anthony
here?
was not even 2 years old.
Okay.
Alex was about 4 years old, and Danny was about 7. Danny's my step kid,
Okay. All right.
and of course yeah. That's how old they were.
Okay.
And
So they're still pretty young.
yeah, went to Sundance.
Uh huh.
From Sundance, didn't like the stuff that was going on there.
Sometimes it's just not a fit, right? That's what we'll say.
Well, and then of course end up at David Spaniak.
Uh-huh.
in Charlotte, and I used to drive all the way from Okemos, 2213 Iroquois Road, and here in Okemos,
Yeah.
all the way to Grand Ledge every day. Well, I don't know how long it was, but there was a gentleman there that he says he left Davis Pontiac to go work for Capital Cadillac, and I knew him already. Jesus, I can't remember his name, but anyway, uh, because he knew I worked in Cadillac. Because a couple of Cadillacs went to the Davis Pontiac, I was
Right.
able to fix them, and they're like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? I don't have to send them all the way to Capital." Blah blah blah. And of course, he moved to Capital Cadillac. First thing I did, he does 1990, 19, oh my God, 1993. Yeah, 1993. Uh, uh, he calls me up. He says, "Jose, I got a job for you." And I says, "What? Davis Pontiac? Well, you go back to Davis Pontiac?" And says, "No, Capital Cadillac." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" "Yeah, sure, I'll take it." And I'm 1993 to 1998, so about 5 years I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
I just had some gentleman that came in from corporate America trying to change Capital Cadillac, and I don't like politics. I just put
Right.
my keys down and took my toolbox and left. And as a matter of fact, I went started a job here at the township, Meridian Township. Became one of their mechanics
Mm-hmm.
for the EMS, fire trucks, and the police. I loved the job too, and I did not like the politics again. And 2001, we decided to sell the house that we bought here in the Alchemist just to move to Florida, build a house in Florida, come back after 2 years because it was too hot. And I'm from South America. Figure that one out, right?
That's well, you got soft living up in New York, didn't you?
Very soft, I tell you. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So where did you end up moving back to Okemos then?
Yep. 2000, and as a matter of fact, my back gave up so bad. 2001. The what do you call it? When that planes hit the buildings.
Oh yeah, September 11th.
I was working. As a matter of fact, I remember that day because I was kind of frustrated for what happened. And the other one is I remember me doing a serpentine belt on a semi truck, which I fell off the wheel backwards. And I done martial arts,
Right.
taekwondo. Even my kids, teach them, and we went to class for that. Uh, anyway, I come back in with another vehicle, and all I was doing there, Florida, air conditioning. That's all you did there. That's
Mm-hmm.
all I did. Bring this car in, pop the hood. As soon as I popped the hood, I felt something else popped on my back. Herniated disc on my back. And that's when after that the lady screams, and of course that the planes are hitting the building. And I'm like, oh my god! And that's when I decided it was too hot for me. Number one, number two, I got hurt and I couldn't do it anymore. We sold the house,
Mm-hmm.
came back here because my son, we had a house here already, in Lansing. I sold the one here, but we had one in Lansing. Came back, and my back was a mess. I couldn't walk. Uh, they had me on rehab. They had me on all kinds of things, going back and forth. Finally, came back here. Went to Doctor Farrell and Doctor. Oh my God, the guy that did my surgery on my lower back. But anyways, a beautiful, great doctor. So they both took care of me. They looked at it, blah blah blah. Had a herniated disc. They fixed it. Doctor Flood, that's what's his name. Doctor Flood did the surgery on my back. And not even 3 months after that, I remember going back and forth from Capitol back to Okemos, and this little building where I have the shop now.
Yeah.
There's only two garage building, a 2-car garage. Kept going by there, and I'm saying to myself, "Well, I can't do this anymore. So what am I gonna do?" Right? Well, I decided to think, well, I got a nephew that wants to learn this. I can teach him. And I says, well, okay, cool. I got another somebody else that came in, a parent. Hey, my son is looking for a job, blah, blah, blah. Send him in. I'll teach him. And that was my motto into the date that 2019, as a matter of fact. Uh, June 3rd of 2019, when I got injected and my whole, everything changed for me. Um, I came back to the shop and I says to my guys, I said, "Sorry guys, but I'm done. I can't do it." Uh, so the guy that worked for me for about 10 years, he says, "Well, I don't have a job. You know, I run it for you." And I'm like, "Okay, well." And again, all this whole time, what I did was just teach a couple of the guys the trade
Mm-hmm.
because I passed on something that was passed on to me, and that's just the way I work. And ever since then, I all this time, I've been that type of person that I just want to make sure that everything is right. I mean, kind of like you know, the way you feel.
Right.
I don't want to do the wrong thing. Period. Everything's got to be right. And even in the shop, when I used to get customers, ladies used to come in, oh, this shop is taking advantage of blah blah blah, and I hated that because I'm like, how can people do that? And that was my motto.
Mm-hmm.
My motto is, hey, we, this is not right. You just got to keep making it right, and just everything just fell in place. And again, about 2 years ago, Anthony was working at the shop. I said, son, you you don't know the business. Number one, the only way that this is going to happen is that we're going to have to invite professionals with licenses that know what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
not trainees, not somebody that you want to teach like I have done. That's how come I never became wealthy because, I did the right thing. And I'm so glad about it.
Right.
I'm here.
Well, you laid the foundation.
I laid the foundation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once that happened, again, not even 2 years ago now, he decided to go on with it, and marketing and doing all this. And he's doing real good.
He is.
He's
He
doing real
definitely is.
good. And I'm so proud of him, you know.
Well, and you've hired the right people there too. I've done business with you. You've got the right people in there,
Yeah,
which is important.
it's very important. And it's kind of that's another one that I used to tell Anthony because we got cameras in the shop.
Uh-huh.
And there's times that will look at the cameras and I may, like something might happen, blah, blah, blah. We look at the cameras and I will see an employee. When I look at an employee, I know that he wants to work, he wants to survive, he's hungry, right? That's the type of person that we want.
Mm-hmm.
Not the one that's going to put his hands in his pocket and, kind of slow going into the shop or coming in 1 minute before 8 o'clock. No, you don't want that. Guy there be 15 minutes before your job, you know.
Right.
You never go wrong. Do one deed every day, you can never go wrong. And they learn that. And, as a matter of fact, again, the Chad, which is my mechanic there,
Mm-hmm.
that kid, man, I'm telling you, even his dad just recently passed away last year from cancer. And I kind of stepped in for him because, even his dad praised me for doing the things for him,
Mm-hmm.
making him what he is. And I says, I didn't do nothing. All I did was guide him.
Right.
Says, I was taught that way, guidance. If I can do it with everybody else, I'm doing great. And I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So now, how long has Doc's Automotive been in business then?
So March 29th, that's when I got my license from the state.
Uh-huh.
Again, March 4th is when I got my surgery. March 29th, I went right around the corner from the shop
Uh-huh.
and got my license. And let's see, so May, I started doing working cars. They didn't have much. Got a couple of people, and of course, the people that I used to know from Capital Cadillac, I didn't want to pull people away from that. No, that wasn't me.
Right.
But they found out where I was. And the funny thing about this is that every time I used to do roadside service for Cadillac too. So I used to get into this big truck with tools and parts and that. I would go from here to Grand Rapids and fix somebody's Cadillac,
Uh-huh.
And I completely blacked out again.
Oh, so we were talking about Doc's Automotive. We were talking about you didn't want to bring people in from Capital Cadillac, but they found out you were working.
They found me somehow. They found out where I was, and that's how I started.
Yeah.
Word of mouth, and never advertised, never did it. And I'm like, as long as I do right, everything just falls in place, which is true. It's just like I always tell guys, that hey, you want to be a president in this country. First of all, you got to earn your spot. You got to become. You got to serve your country
Hmm.
and learn what is right from wrong, and which is true. You know, uh, if we don't do the right thing, nothing is gonna fall in place.
Right. It all comes back around.
It all comes back around.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're are you kind of in the process of kind of transitioning out of the business then at this point?
I'm already, as a matter of fact, yesterday I went to the lawyers and uh, did my trust.
Uh huh.
So, and everything is falling in place now. So now I'm kind of like, everything is getting easier for me. Like, like I'm letting go, which I didn't want to, be honest with you. It hurts.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's so hard to try to, I mean, you look at your business, like, this is what I did. Wow, how did I do that? Uh, it took some, real nerds to make that happen.
cojones, right?
Cojones.
I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's funny because, again, when I started working for the township, if I didn't do that, I would never had a spot in Okemos, I don't think.
Right. Everything you did,
I did it for a purpose.
yeah, brought you there and made you. And sometimes we don't even know what the purpose is, right? We're like, oh,
Exactly.
we should just be doing this.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like that, you got to earn that spot. And second, like I said, in Okemos, I did earn that spot. I worked for the township. I did what's right. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're finally though able to kind of start letting go of it, right?
Letting go,
You're not
yes.
going to
As a
drive
matter of
Anthony
fact,
crazy.
yesterday was one of those days.
Uh huh.
I walked around my whole perimeter in my house and walked back and forth. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? What am I going to do? And I'm still going through that right now. Anthony, he doesn't know much about what's going on either because I don't want to tell him.
Yeah.
Uh, I just want to surprise him. You know.
Well, and you hire quite a few veterans too, don't you? You have some veterans that work.
Got one now.
Yeah.
I had another one before, but he moved on.
Uh huh.
I got another one now, and this kid is awesome. I mean, he's that type of person that all the other guys around him is like, John, oh my God, John, this is the guy. This is the type of person. He's always very serious. I says, and I make joke of him sometimes. Hey, John, stop being too serious, will you? And I think he's 100% disabled too because of the PFABs.
Yeah.
But he can work though.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he can
Yeah.
work.
I think people misunderstand that.
Yeah, they
Um,
do, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I have PTSD, severe PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes limits me, but I can still work.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I have these other problems, and that's where the disability comes
I
in.
try to overcome them.
Right.
That's exactly what we have to do. To be
Right.
honest with you, it's just like keep saying every time, the crap that we're going through, dude. Just think this way: we put that Hancock right on that piece of paper.
Yeah.
Okay, we did it to ourselves. We felt invisible. Think about it.
Yeah.
I remember them days. We used to do stupid things. I can't believe that. Going diving and catching lobsters in the middle of the freaking night. Who the hell would do that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sometimes I think you probably have some great stories, but I think that there's times where I'm like, I'm lucky to be sitting in this seat right
That
now
is-
because I did
that
some
is the honest
stupid
truth.
stuff.
I can tell you one story about a friend that his wife was pregnant. It was a night. We were sleeping, and he decided to go back into the ocean to pick up lobsters. So we already know because when we go spear fishing, when we park, we leave a note.
Right.
Okay, we always did that. We always back each other up. Well, his wife was having the baby that evening, so of course, he sends the one of the kids right next door, and my wife answers the door. Sharon is having a baby. Sharon's having a baby, and of course, Larry's all the way somewhere about 15 miles away from where I was, and I'm like, okay, and it started pouring, and I had a 1971 Volkswagen, completely fire engine red. I mean, fire engine red. It was beautiful little Volkswagen. Bam, got into the Volkswagen. Okay, no problem. I'll go. I know where he's at. Blah, blah, blah. So I go all the way out there. I leave a note because I didn't want to go back into the water anyway. It was night.
Right.
And so I said, God damn it, Larry. come back out. And I'm over here shining the light on the freaking on the ocean, trying to see where he was at because I knew where he went, but I didn't know which way he went. So I'm shining the light. He don't come up. I leave a note. I left back. I went back, and it's muddy. This is not a what do you call it? A beautiful road.
Right.
This is
Not
in the
nicely
middle of the jungle.
paved.
So, yep. So I take off, and it started pouring, and my freaking little wipers are going back and forth. And I'm over here trying to look, going up the little hill, come back and down the hill. There's a freaking bull. I'm coming down the hill, and all of a sudden there's a big freaking thing in front of me. And I mean, what the hell? And this freaking bull charges and get right on top of that front of that little Volkswagen. The whole little hood, there's nothing in the front.
Oh yeah.
The whole hood just caved in. The windshield. I mean, yeah, the windshield just completely shattered because his horn hit right there. And I'm like, oh, and the wiper was keep. I put it on reverse, trying to go back up, and wouldn't. I put it back and forth and try to hit him, and he took off. And I drove about, I'm gonna say about 13 miles maybe. No windshield wipers, no windshield. Got home. I tell you, I remember that freaking evening. And then the next day when Larry comes up, he looks at my car. What happened? Well, I had to come out and freaking bail you out. Like,
this is your fault.
It's your fault. You owe me a car. No, I didn't have it. But anyway,
Right.
it was one of them things that you will never forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little things like that is like, yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm going to ask you. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. This is kind of new. I've never asked anyone this before, but can you share like one of the stupidest things you ever did that you're lucky to be here? I mean, I know what my story is on that because me and my friends share it all the time. But what's something stupid that you did that you're just lucky to even be here right now?
Too many of them.
Yeah.
I can't even describe them.
Yeah.
They called us the Red Devils. I don't know if you ever heard of that before.
I have not.
Yeah. So this is the sign. There's a tag now that they say that we have.
Oh, okay. Yep, I see it.
Red Devils.
Yeah.
They called us, and yeah, just looking at that thing, and that's the patch on my arm.
Uh-huh. And you guys did all the stuff no one else wanted to do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Great experience.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say. It was a great experience. If it wasn't because of that one last freaking repel, I just go back to that freaking repel.
Yeah.
It just never goes away. I mean, it stays in your mind. You know how freaking invisible you felt. You're going down. Oh, shit.
Right.
Straight down. The fucking rope goes up. Helicopter leaves. I was in so much pain that day. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to call back. I never said anything about 1978. They pulled me out of the jungle because my grandpa passed away.
Mm-hmm.
February 28th of 1978. Yeah, 1978. Yeah, they pulled me out of the jungle. Didn't know what was going on. I thought I got in big trouble.
Right.
So I go back into base. The captain sits me down. He's, just like me and you here right now, sits me down. Alvarado, I got bad news for you, he says. Bad news. Oh my God. I'm glad I didn't do nothing bad in my mind, right?
Yeah.
And he says, well, your grandpa passed away. And I just buckled up because, yeah.
Your grandpa was very important to you.
So,
yeah.
So is my grandma.
Yeah.
Because in reality, my mom being what she did, in our country, it's not like you have beautiful roads, right? It's dirt roads. You either get into a burro, a donkey,
yep,
and travel. So my mom was never around. So my mom was my grandma.
Right.
Even though my mom's still around. She's 91 now, as a matter of fact. But I praise her for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was trying to take care of you the best she could, and thankfully you had grandparents that were there
to support.
Right.
It's just like the way I'm doing now with my grandkids now. I'm here, son.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you learned some important lessons from that, it sounds like.
yeah,
Yeah.
big
And now
lessons.
you're passing them on.
Yeah, and it hurts. Just thinking about it. As a man, you freaking tear up. It's because you got feelings.
Right.
If I didn't have freaking feelings, I don't know. I don't think I'd be here talking to you.
Sometimes you just got to cry,
Yeah,
right?
it
Like,
brings out the best of you.
you feel better
Yeah.
afterwards.
Oh hell yeah.
It's like some poison leaves your body when you cry.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. It's the poison that comes out of you.
Right. Right. All the stuff that you don't want to remember, all the stuff that's happened,
Right.
all of those things, you gotta deal with them and then let them go.
Yeah.
They don't ever go away completely, though.
No.
We both know that.
Yeah. They stay right there.
Yep.
They stay right
But
there.
we learn to live with it.
Overcome, maneuver it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just like again, the things that I'm teaching these little kids. I already told you about the magnifier glass, but the other one is like teaching the kids like, okay, guys, do you know where north is? North, south, east, west. My granddaughter is like, yes, we know. Okay, so where's north? And she says like, well, Papa, is it that way? No. So I says, listen, from now on, when you want to know where north is, look at the trees. If you look at a tree, most of the trees that tell you that you south is going to be facing this way. The one that says north is almost straight up. Look at the trees, and she's looking at the trees. Oh, you're right, Papa. Look at that tree. Oh, you're right, Papa. Think about it.
Right.
That's how I maneuver the jungle.
Yeah. And years from now, they'll be using that,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
They'll, because you've probably done this. Like you're trying to get something done or you're trying to, and you're like, you can't figure it out. You can't figure it out. And then all of a sudden you remember something that your grandfather told you and then it's that lesson that gets stuck in there.
And again, it's only one time that them little kids learn. One time. It's not like I repeat it again to do it again.
Right.
One time.
Right.
It's like recently, my wife takes her glasses off. We're outside playing balloons, taking balloon waters, throwing at each other. And my wife takes her glasses and leaves them in the sun, in the steps. So we over there playing. All of a sudden, oh my God, where's my glasses? Where are my glasses? She's looking for her glasses. And of course, Olivia knows where her glasses are. So she goes to me, Papa, I don't know why Nana does that. This is common sense. You're not supposed to leave your glasses on the sun.
Common sense.
Where did you learn this kind of world? It's just the smart of that little girl.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like mind-boggling. Ever since these two little kids came into my life, even though I got all the grandkids,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't seen much, but these two kids have stolen my heart.
Yeah.
Especially her. Oh my God, she stole my heart for sure. I got a friend of mine that he has not have a grandkid either, and it's the first one. And I says, Dar, you don't have no idea. Wait until she comes or he comes. You're gonna be a complete different person.
Yeah.
And then they called me up the other day. You're freaking right, man. I cry. He says, I cry when I seen that little girl. I'm like, told you, your life will change.
Yeah.
Believe me, it will change.
Yeah. When I held my granddaughter the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was completely different. And actually, I have a niece, Amelia, that lives in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. She just, I don't know what it is. Smart too. They're both just really super smart.
Yeah. It's what they I don't know how or what it is that they're eating, but myself and my kids when they're that bright, I can tell you that right now. But they're so bright. That little girl, not even 3 years old, outside playing, and he rocking her on the trampoline, and learn the ABCs in Spanish and English and the numbers. And then all of a sudden, her brother, she's doing it, and her brother started to repeat, and now he knows all of them. It shocked me because when was it? When she came out of school just recently now from kindergarten. Majority of the kids in the States, they're in the 50% percentile, I think.
Right.
She's in the 90%.
Yeah.
He shocked me. I'm like, are you kidding me? And Yeah, no, it's what you teach a kid.
Right.
You
That's
know,
good parenting, and that's good example setting
exactly.
by other members of the
Put the
family.
stones in places, so this way you know where you're gonna step on.
Right. You're
Um,
sort of a foundation layer, right? Like you
yeah,
laid the foundation. You knew the business and uh, the mechanic work, but your son knows how to promote it,
exactly. He
right?
knows how to promote that real good for
Yep.
sure.
So you get the right people in there, and then he can promote it. I mean, and that's just one example. Imagine what these grandkids are going to do.
Forget about it. I don't want to imagine. As a
That's
matter of
right.
fact, I can't wait until this gentleman from this place, if they're willing to sell the property, I'm gonna buy it
Uh-huh.
where I'm at because I don't want to. Why moved, right? Anthony says, Dad, let's take that building over here, chef's garage on Saginaw. Son, demographics. There's so many things on a business that you got to look into. Not only just going in there and thinking that you're gonna make it happen. It's more demographics. I opened that there because I know where I was.
Right.
Okay,
Right. I grew up. I grew up a block away from Shep's garage.
really
I actually know Shep.
unbelievable, right?
Yeah, that's my old neighborhood. That
It's
that
it's
whole
it's,
area.
it's an old world. And I says, yes, we can make it. I says, all right, but it's not the same demographics. You
No,
know,
no, it's a whole different ball game.
it's a whole different ball game. It's not like Okemos. I mean, you know what it is in Okemos already. And I said, it'd be great just to have a spot right where we at.
Hmm.
You know, just don't forget where you came from. That's all.
Right.
You
Don't
know,
don't get. My grandfather came from the south. What he used to say, "Don't get too big for your britches."
exactly.
That was his thing. Don't get too
That's the
big for
thing.
your britches, son.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it is true.
Yeah.
Don't just be humble, be yourself. That's what I tell them. Be
Yeah.
yourself, be humble, uh, and that's it.
Yeah.
Everything should be just great and dandy after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The foundation and the rock, makes everything a big difference.
Well, I think that's how we make it better for our kids, right? We do the best we can with what we've got, and we teach them to do the best they can with what they've got, and they can just build on what we've built.
And it's funny because looking at it, I think to myself, and as old as I gotten right now, I think to myself, how did I become a dad? I didn't know what to teach my kids because was never thought of anything like that.
Right.
All I was taught is, hey, do the right thing, And my grandpa, he was a very straight guy. Do the right thing. Heck, I remember the day that I lied to my grandpa when I was a little kid. I told my grandpa that I got into my teacher left me in the school because I didn't do class. Uh, Something was cool. I didn't do,
Yeah.
but it was a lie. I got into a fight with some other kid. And of course, my grandpa, he was a sheriff one time. Besides being a military, he was a sheriff, and he was the guy that used to go to the plaza and
Uh-huh.
make sure that that fish was fresh. That
Right.
was his job.
Not a guy
So,
you lie to.
and I lied to him. And of course, he go, how come you late? Because we're supposed to be at the plaza picking up the canasta to take food back home, and I wasn't there. And so he comes over. He said, "What happened?" Oh, the teacher and I lied. Oh, let's go to this. Take me to the school, right to the teacher. I remember that vividly up to today. And the teacher says, no. And that's when I told her, I'm sorry, Grandpa, in Spanish. No, it's a lie, blah, blah, blah. Get to the house. I remember that day. I ran to the house. And in them days, it was very strict that if you did something wrong and Grandpa was going to take care of it, you get in front of his chair and your knees and wait for him. That was the punishment. And I remember seeing my grandpa hitting my uncles. And in days, there used to be a whip like this size, like this, but it was curled up
Yeah.
of a cow whip. I went up, that thing freaking burned. I remember him hitting my uncles for doing stupidity. And I tell you, we learn fast.
I can only imagine. Like, you only do that once. You only do
That's
that.
it.
I'm not going to lie again.
That's it.
I might do something else, but I'm not going to do that one
No.
again. Right.
Yep.
Right.
No, we learn real fast.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's no regrets at all. No regrets. The only regret again is that of the stupidity of people. Period.
Right.
Uh, again, to call us baby killers not knowing exactly what that person had to do in order to make sure that I'm looking at your face, in other words, right?
Right.
They don't have no reality of that, you
No.
know. And for that reason, I didn't want to say nothing because everybody thinking, oh, you was in Vietnam too. But no, I was not, you know. I heard bad stories that you don't want to hear,
Right.
you know. Yeah,
I think we've learned a lot since then too. Like you can disagree with the war,
yeah,
but you don't. The people that go are the people that go. You can't attack them because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
right,
Right. You can disagree with and protest the war, but don't protest the troops. And
exactly.
I think we've learned, at least a lot of people have learned that lesson, which has helped a lot of veterans be able to come out and talk about their time in the military.
Right. The thing about this that I think is that the government, they should have done is this: made an example, not in reality, but a make believe example. Listen, this is what happens in Nam, okay? I'm a parent, I'm a soldier and a parent, okay? I got my wife, I got my kids. Guess what I'm gonna do? I don't wanna kill, I wanna send my kid. I'm gonna put a bomb right next to you. I'm gonna throw it at you.
Hmm.
That's what that kid will do because the parents told them, not because they wanted to do it. But a lot of these people, they don't have no reality of that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sickening.
It is.
It's sickening.
I mean, the same as putting an explosive vest on a child
Exactly.
in the Middle East. That happens.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep.
Well, we have talked about a lot of stuff today, Jose. We've talked quite a bit. I've learned a lot about you. But as we kind
I
of,
got the chills.
it's because I keep my house so cold.
No, no, no. It's the chilling trend. No,
Yeah.
believe me, it's comfortable. It's just
A lot of people find this therapeutic, this
it
talk,
is.
this discussion. And so before we go, really have two questions.
Mm.
One, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you still want to talk about?
No,
Okay.
the real bad things, they just go down 6 feet under. Can't talk about them.
Yeah. Well, and if you've dealt with them, you've dealt with them,
Yep,
right?
they're over with. And again, my whole body just shaking just from not want to think about that.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, then
just just changing my view. Like you
yeah.
know, m- it goes different ways.
So let's turn the conversation then. And the last question that I'll ask you today is for someone listening to this 100 years from now, when neither one of us are here.
Mhm.
What message would you like to leave people with?
Be human. We all in this world for a reason. Even even though we don't believe in God or do believe in God, it doesn't make no difference. We all the same. Uh, we all should take care of each other no matter what, because this world is only once. This life is only once. We can step on 2 feet, but we cannot stand up on 1 feet. It's very hard, and so that's how come we got to support each other. If you don't, that's your life, being miserable instead of having a better life and looking for each other's neighbors. It's not like that anymore. There's neighbors that they don't even want to talk to you. It's kind of like I don't know if I want to say this, but like I went there yesterday. I decided to go to a BFW yesterday, and I got in there. It's the first time that I'm going to a BFW. Never went in there because the first time that I went in, I'm the type of person that I went in, hi, how you doing, blah blah blah. But when you get that face that like you're not here, you're not supposed to be here. Okay, turn around and walk away. Kind of how what happened again yesterday, and that's why I never wanted to go into a place like that
Mm-hmm.
because of the racism. Because as parents, instead of teaching our kids what is right from wrong, we're teaching them wrong, right? Uh, like I remember the day that my brother-in-law spanked my niece, and my niece calls the cops on him, and my brother-in-law ends up in jail. And that's the day that I learned that, holy Jesus, are you kidding me? We cannot even strain up our kids in this country anymore. I am glad that I was in my country and I'm a straight kid,
Yeah.
you know, because I learned a lesson one time, only one time, and I learned that lesson. But no, yeah, no, everybody should be grateful for what they have, Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody that you don't want to be. Don't try to think that money is going to make you even better, because it doesn't. It's just a it's just a piece of paper. You got to earn it. You got to work hard at it, and things will change for yourself. But if you don't make changes in life, uh, this world will never survive, and it's even getting worse nowadays. You know. But the best thing to do is, look out after each other, be good to each other, take care of each other. And I learned that again a long, long time ago, um, and I'm still doing it. You know, even at the shop.
Yeah.
Because as a matter of fact, is I had customers that would come in there when they had an issue with their vehicles. I had my vehicle here yesterday when I was a mechanic in the back, and I had somebody in the front. I have my vehicle here. Blah 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 blah. I want to talk to the owner. Blah blah blah. And I come up front, and you the owner? Yes, I'm the owner.
And I worked on your car. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and that's the type of situations that I lived my life in this country. But I never paid no mind about that in reality. As long as I kept my chin up and I was honest, and I would make sure that I got your back. That's all that mattered. I don't care whether you was a racist or not. And I tell you something, a lot of these guys, they changed the way they were because, just the way I felt.
Hmm.
Dude, what do you get by doing that? Think about it. Really, think about it. What
Right.
would you get by doing stupidity like that? Instead of, hey, how about we go to the beach and have a couple of beers or something? You know? How about we go play some football? How about something different besides having that mentality, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't get you anywhere besides, hate. That's what this country is right now. A lot of hate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. And it's kind of sad because my chief in command now, I respect every one of them. I don't care how bad they are, but you got to have that respect. But at the same time, I lived in New York and I did vote for Mr. Trump the last time, not this time. Last time I did vote for Mr. Trump, and it was because being from New York, hey, he's a business guy. I'm a business guy. Let's try this. And when that race car came out with all that backwarding, I punched this and punch. That was childish.
Mhm.
That's the day that I learned. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening, you know. And that's when I'm thinking to myself, and I even trying to pass the word. The If people will realize that if you have somebody that wants to be in that position, you should at least have 3 to 4 years of service to your country. So you can tell your flag and touch your flag and say, yes, I served you. Not somebody that's going to have a golden spoon, and get fed by it,
Right.
and then try to do the things that is happening right now. It's kind of scary, be honest with you.
Hmm.
Looking at it, it's like back in Germany. Oh yeah, I did went to Germany for AirTap.
Oh, well, there you go. Know all about that.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for spending the morning with me and
God.
sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
No, you have brought out a lot of things in me, but no, it's a great experience. I am glad that I done it. I would have never thought I would do something like this. Even though my grandkids, my sons and my kids are saying, "Why don't you make something like this? Leave to your grandkids. Maybe this will work."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Listen to my conversation 20 years from now when I'm gone.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks again, Jose.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Veterans Archives. We hope you enjoyed this veteran story. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share our videos, as well as checking us out on social media. We're on Facebook and TikTok, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram. Be sure to check out those pages, share, and like. And for more information about what we do, go to www.veteransarchives.org.